by Steve Permuth and Karin Braunsberger. I want to introduce the officers and chairs. I'm the president. I've been here for a while. But Vice President is Steve Lang, who's at St. Pete, at the College of Education. He ran a tenure promotion workshop October 9th. That's three Fridays ago. The treasurer is Sonia Wolmuth. She's in world languages. The secretary is Greg McComb. He is ostensibly in math, and he's a workhorse because he worked constantly at communicating. He gets the biweeklies out and all kinds of emails, and I'm very glad he gets up early. The chief negotiator is Bob Welker. He's responsible for the CBA, the quality of the CBA, which you will be very impressed with. He's taught here 55 years. He's the longest serving, I was going to say the oldest professor, but he's not. He's the longest serving professor in the university, and he's been negotiating for about a quarter of a century, so he knows what's going on. Debbie Sinclair is the chair of membership, and she's in the College of Business. She's developed a plan to recruit with the FEA, Florida Education Association, and the state UFF, and it's beginning to show results. The chair of the Government Relations Committee is Josh Raymond. He's in philosophy, and the chair of grievances is Karin Braunsberger. She's also the co-presenter today. She's been a member of the College of Business for a number of years. She's a professor of entrepreneurship. She's been a member of the executive committee now, and she serves on a membership committee, and she's served on the grievance committee, and she's been a UFF senator for a long time. Steve Permuth is the other presenter. He's been a College of Ed professor. He's been here somewhere around 20 years, 50 years in education. He's been a dean at 3 colleges, a provost at 1. He's published a whole bunch of articles, juried articles, 60. He says he's an author and co-author of 10 books on policy, educational policy and educational law. He's really a scholar in educational law. He's been a union member for a long time. He's been in the bargaining and membership and grievance committees. This is the University Senate. The people who are running this thing are Doug McComb and Susan Ariu, who's been in the library for a long time. And if you ever want to get an article that is extremely difficult to find, just ask her and she finds it and gets it to you. Debbie Sinclair is the College of Business, and she's the voice of the chat with Steve. He's been a long time VP. He's been in the union a long time. He's the College of Education too. He's a faculty representative for athletics, which I think is very important. And anything you want on a questionnaire, he can knock it out in what, a day. Bob Welker too is a backup here. And the question Steve keeps saying, what is the union doing? Well, the union has done a few things. We've had a TMP workshop 3 Fridays ago. Last week, Bob Welker ran a workshop to try to explain the role of in supporting and helping faculty and protecting faculty. Steve and Karin are going to be the 2 people running this thing on early retirement. So why don't we start with you, Steve and Karin? Is that enough?
Thank you, Arthur. So I guess I'm going to start. When we're talking about early retirement, the part of the CBA that is actually—
Steve is muted, I think, and he needs to unmute.
I am now unmuted.
Yes, you are. So you want to get started or you want me to start?
Sure. Go ahead and start. I'll fill in.
Okay. So when we're talking about early retirements, that part of the CBA that focuses on that is actually Article 8.4, changes in appointments and supplemental appointments. And here we're specifically focusing on 8.4I, fixed multi-year appointments, and then also J, continuing multi-year appointments. So we have been asked, how do we find out whether we can do this? And this is very different from what we've been receiving from the administration. So 2 to 5 year fixed multi-year appointments may be offered for instructors and lecturers, non-tenured or non-tenure earning assistant librarians, associate librarians, librarians, curators, and counselors, advisors. And then we also have scholars, scientists, research associate, and associate assistant.
Karin, you're going to have to tell me what page you want me to be on.
This is on page 13.
I think he wanted to know about where to be with the PowerPoint. Am I correct, Greg?
Yes, I will put the link to the PowerPoint, link to the contract in chat.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know, Karin, which page on the PowerPoint on the shared screen you want to be up.
Well, Steve, what page are we on?
Well, if you don't mind, let me jump in and give a little bit of an introduction overall.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at 3 different parts in the presentation today. One is the part from the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA. We are not talking about anything that has to be bargained. It's already in the contract and should and can be utilized by people affected by this presentation. The second part is a quick review of the statement from the Provost's office a couple of weeks ago about here are 3 options to look at in case you're thinking of one of these options for you. The third part, which is brand new, is the statement from the administration as of 4:07 today. When we started this session, it wasn't there. We have now put it on to the end, and it is part 3. It is what the president of the university said during his presentation of a new program or a new plan. And that's in part 3, and we will try to cover that as well. I think one of the things, if I might, it's important to look at page 2, Greg, part 1.
This is where you're at right now.
That's correct. The collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, is the contract signed by both the United Faculty of Florida on behalf of USF faculty in the UFF USF bargaining unit and USF administration on behalf of the Board of Trustees. It's important to understand that we are talking here about a legally binding document. As Dr. Welker reminds us always, the 2 major functions of the union is to negotiate bargaining agreement and to enforce the agreement. And so what I'm talking about now is what's there, it's in the bargaining present. It does not necessarily have anything to do with part 2. That is what has been proposed a few weeks ago, or what we even see today. So we're looking at 2 different elements at what might be called early retirement and later on early retirement, early resignation contracts. So let's move on, if we can, to the next page, which is called page 3. And it's really a precursor to a number of items in the collective bargaining agreement. They're in effect now. And again, Bob presented much more of an informed concern here, but I think I want to share it with everyone again. This is in the contract. Within 30 calendar days of any proposed changes in the appointment terms listed in 8.3A, 1 through 13, it's in your collective bargaining book again at 8.3A, 1 through 13. An employer shall receive a written employment document from the university outlining the proposed changes. No such proposed changes shall be effective and binding on the employee except an increase in salary rate or promotion to a higher rate, unless and until, let me again, unless and until agreed to and accepted in writing by the employee. So with whatever we're going to be seeing, please make sure you keep that in your head as an important statement on behalf of the collective bargaining agreement. Let's turn now, and let me then turn it over, if I can, back to you to talk a little bit about the agreement at 8.4I, and then we'll talk about 8.4J. This is in the collective bargaining agreement as it stands.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to where I started, and thank you, Greg, for putting it up.
That
So,
is just section 1 of
Six.
8.4I.
sorry?
That is just 8.4I part 1.
That's correct.
Yeah, 8.4I part 1. And this is what is relevant, what Steve said we were going to be talking about in part today. And it's about fixed multi-year appointments. And these are available 2 to 5 years, multi-year appointments. And they may be offered not just to tenured faculty, but according to the contract, instructors and lecturers, non-tenured and non-tenured earning assistant librarians, associate librarians, curators, counselors, advisors, scientists, research associates, clinical faculty, individuals who were officially retired from universities or other organizations and who are at least 55 years of age, tenured employees. And here you have to realize that you will have to give up your tenure to take advantage of whatever incentives might be offered to you by a fixed multi-year appointment. And then individuals who have held the rank of full professor for at least 7 years at an institution of higher education. That is not necessarily USF alone, but if you've had that rank at another university, that applies as well.
Let me also add, if you look back where it says 2 to 5 year fixed multi-year appointments may be offered for the following.
Yeah.
What that implies in everything we're going to speak about is the administration has the ability of saying yes or no, but this is one channel where a change of an appointment, supplemental appointments can be made. So again, one of the questions for people who are instructors, can I possibly get a 2 to 5 year fixed multi-year appointment? The answer is yes. It's depending on a couple of things we'll talk about shortly, but the idea is yes, you can, and yes, you can now. Because a number of issues have arisen, especially in E, F, and G, does this say who are at least 55 and have retired from a university or other organizations? You are in the category that can also request and move forward. F, tenured employees who decide to give up their tenured status to take advantage of whatever incentives might be offered by a fixed multi-year appointment. And G, individuals who have held the rank of professor for at least 7 years at an institution of higher education. While this has been in play for a long time, let me share a couple of things. As a former dean of the College of Education, this was a reflection of offers and opportunities that have been in the contract for a while. And as a dean, there were people who I thought might be interested. I had referred them, in fact, to the administration, and I must tell you, they were welcomed. There were good discussions, and the nature of these discussions has been confidential between the person one might send over and the administration, but there is no way in which, as a person who referred, that I have any information about whether they've been met. All I know is I've referred them, and all I can tell you, the numbers of people who've gone over, some have been satisfied, some have not been satisfied, but that remains between the individual faculty member, consistent with the collective bargaining agreement, and the administration. So this is an awfully important list of you. It's in your collective bargaining agreement. And by the way, in these tentative times for all of us, it's probably good to read the contract, specifically the areas you're concerned with. Okay, please, Karen, take care of the changes in appointments and supplemental appointments.
Okay, can we go to the next slide, please, Greg? Or Susie? Okay. So, and this is important to realize. I mean, in the CBA, it says successive fixed multi-year appointments may be offered. So we're not talking necessarily about the initial multi-year appointment, but this is about successive. But it gives you an idea of what they are going to look at when they make the first offer. So right now we know that the university is suffering from deep budget cuts. And we have been told that they rather have people retiring early than laying off others. So some of these criteria that are listed here might be used in order to decide whether you will get that initial fixed multi-year appointment. And that might have to do with your performance. It has to do with your contribution to the mission of the department or program, staffing needs. So if you are teaching something that nobody else can teach, it's probably going to get very difficult for you to be considered for this, because you remember the words that Steve pointed out are may.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee.
There also is an element that we did not have posted inside, and I apologize for that. It's you need to get clearance from your own administration, your chair, your dean, that you are of high level quality and should be considered. You have to make sure your performance has been adequate and appropriate. You have to make sure that staffing needs, should you get an appointment, e.g. if you're looking for a full year, half-time sabbatical, that there are people who can take your role while you are gone to make sure that the department doesn't get shortchanged. And without the approval of the department and the approval of the dean, I'd say the likelihood of getting an okay is non-existent. But if you have a unique circumstance, I would say carry on and go ahead. And we'll get the other paragraph that's missing is also at 84J1. This is a system. What happens if you want to go longer? And if you want to go longer, you can, but the criteria used to determine which offers successive appointments are those statements. Consideration of the basis for the initial fixed multi-year appointment, evaluation of performance, professional growth extent, and currency of professional qualifications. In other words, you have to be good enough that someone is saying, yeah, you could really take an advantage in this. And you need to say, I do too. Remember, the university has the prerogative of saying no. You have the prerogative of asking. And by the way, if you don't ask, you don't know what an answer is. And generally, I would say people who have gone to discuss this with the administration have said it was nothing but open, and then told me absolutely nothing about the meeting, which is the correct thing to do. And then in the penultimate year, at the end of the year, you have to submit a request and written documentation pursuant to written procedures established by the university. The university shall notify the employee of writing decision to offer or not offer a successive appointment by the beginning of the final year of the appointment. Okay. Let's jump to part 2. By the way, that's the collective bargaining agreement as it reads, with the one exception of the paragraph not there. But it also is a key element to understanding that is a right bargain now. It can be utilized now. If you have a question or a thought about following the collective bargaining agreement, all of these things, we as a union are here to answer questions you might have. But also we'd say your opportunity would be to call the provost's office. And I think all sabbaticals and other things like that would go either to Dr. Carey or go to Dr. Smith. The commentary is there is a place to talk and a place to inquire, and we serve as perhaps mentors of what we see the collective bargaining saying what the agreement says. Now, part 2 deals with a survey we all received a couple of weeks ago with option 1.
You want to go to that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And let me explain why. The instrument from,
Yes, to log in.
I'm sorry? The instrument on page 8, survey from USF Academic Affairs, the options were the 3 sent to all of us a couple of months ago. I would say from what you'll see here and what you'll see after, that these agenda items as they are listed here are not any longer relevant. There was a lot of discussion about their implications. There was a lot of discussion what they could mean, but the reality of it is they are not any longer relevant, except there is a tangent to only number 1 in the discussion. So part 2, let's just put aside for a second and let's jump to part 3. This is the statement that we received this afternoon at 4:10. It's a statement on voluntary retirement resignation program, and it's sent out this afternoon for faculty interested in departing from USF. I assume the departing meant leaving peacefully and in one piece. But the agenda here is, this is the new plan that has been proposed by the administration, and you will be among the first people perhaps who have a chance to read it. And at the end of the program, we'll also talk about the sites where you can pick up the entire statement of all of these things together. So again, collective bargaining agreement, we've done a little talking about. The coming to people and asking what they would like to do with 3 options is not relevant. And if I misstate that, somebody will have to yell at me. But it's not statement. Let's go over the brand new plan handed out this afternoon. On page 12.
Which page? Is this the page you want?
Page 12. Yes. Are you all set? Greg?
Yes. Is this the page you want?
Yes, voluntary retirement resignation program. That, by the way, and again, there's a gratitude to especially Dr. Smith to get us this statement following the president's desire to talk about a little bit about it in the context of his forum before we started an hour before. So let me try and go through this with a little bit of detail, and then we will go to open questions. Recently, the university distributed an interest survey regarding possible retirement/resignation incentives to be offered to faculty. Based on the feedback received through that survey and subject to availability of funds, a voluntary retirement/resignation program has been developed for eligible faculty in recognition of their service to the university and to allow the university to strategically invest resources to address a challenging budgetary environment like we have now. In order to be eligible for this program, faculty must meet the following criteria. You must be tenured. You must be in the faculty pay plan, and you must be funded through IE, state recurring appropriation sources. You must have a minimum of 10 years of service with the university. You must be at least 62 years of age, and you do not hold an administrative position above the role of chairs and directors. In turn, in addition to the above, the program will not be available to faculty who are currently in their final year of participation and drop, have submitted a notice of resignation or retirement that has been accepted prior to the application deadline for the program, or have been issued any other terminal employment contract. Let me go on to the next one. This program is offered to eligible faculty, and it's essentially what was an option 1 as described in the message that we just passed through. In this one, the one that is valid here, participants in the program will receive the following incentives: 100% research scholarship assignment for the spring 2021 semester to allow them to complete their career with USF as a full-time faculty member. And if you'll note the asterisk below, that says an alternative assignment appropriate for the position may be arranged in consultation with and subject to the approval of the faculty member's chair and director. In other words, there is flexibility in terms of talking to your chair, superior, to be able to say, this is what I would like to do. And then, you'll hopefully come to a mutual agreement on it. And then there's a 20-week severance payment based on your 9-month or 12-month base salary paid from E&G funds as of the date of resignation or retirement. If you're going to go in and make the decision to resign, the decision to resign and the decision to retire may or may not be the same thing. So be careful. And I think they do a good job of below saying, in addition, participants will receive any accrued sick or annual leave balance payout to which they are entitled in accordance with university policies and procedures. In return, the individual agrees to retire or resign from USF no later than August 6, 2021. That is this coming calendar year, August 6, 2021, and to sign a general release of liability, which is basically a saying of no one's going to be liable one way or the other. Other restrictions of the program are discussed in the frequently asked question document that can be accessed from the USF Human Resources website. And then as we move down a little more to the next page, page 14, Voluntary Retirement Resignation Program. The request, I'll tell you what, Karin, would you mind reading that?
Of course. The request form must be completed and submitted electronically by 5 p.m. on Friday, November 6th. Eligible faculty who timely submit a request form will be rank ordered by years of service and accepted to the extent that the funds set aside for this purpose allow. Management reserves the right, however, to defer a faculty member's participation in the program until a later date, including delaying the effective date of resignation retirement in the unlikely event that doing so is determined to be in the best interest of the university, based on consideration of factors including but not limited to student success, grant obligations, and other potential short-term impacts on university operations. Those accepted will be provided a voluntary resignation agreement and general release, in parentheses agreement, detailing the terms and conditions of the program, and will be provided sufficient time to review the agreement and consult with an attorney regarding its terms, if desired, before deciding whether to sign and return the agreement. For planning purposes, the deans of your respective colleges will be notified if you submit a request form. This in no way obligates you to ultimately sign and submit the agreement. It does alert the college of the possible need to arrange for any classes to be covered that you may not be teaching in spring 2021. Once you're notified that your application is approved, you're encouraged to reach out to your chair director as soon as possible if you would like to explore possible alternatives to the proposed 100% research scholarship assignment for the spring 2021 semester.
Okay. We are done with the presentation. Steve, were you going to refer us from your seat in the chat room? Hello?
Debbie may have some questions, or I may have some, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Fire away.